Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good day to everyone. Welcome back to BCM 3203 Computer Game Programming 2. This video is the subsequence or the continuation from the previous video, which is I've been given a little bit on the introduction about the artificial intelligence for games. So for this video we are going to continue on the mathematics of AI. So, do you still remember what do we define as the game AI? I hope you still remember the definition. So, now we will take a look a little bit on the mathematics of AI. It just a little bit because why? We have learned this in our previous class, which is in the chapter 1 or chapter 2, I guess. So, for this video, I'm not going to touch in detail about the mathematics itself since you already learned about what is the points, what is the vectors, how to do the transformation, and so on. So, this is the continuation. Okay, why do we need to know about the mathematics before we can learn on the AI? It is the fundamental so that you can use mathematics to move around your character within your game environment. And also by knowing the mathematics of AI, you should understand how your game space looks like. Which game space do you want to use? Either it is orthographic or the perspective. So we are going to take a look a little bit on that in Unity later on. So now, let me introduce you again to the Cartesian coordinate. Do you still remember what is the Cartesian coordinate? Okay, Cartesian coordinate have a default or a system, a coordinate system that we have been used since our school. There are two types of the Cartesian coordinate, which is the 2D Cartesian and 3D Cartesian. When working in the 2D Cartesian, basically you are working on the XY axis in this area, isn't it? Right? But in the 3D Cartesians, you are going to work with another axis, which is the Z axis. And your space is something like this, a cube space, a cuboid space, something that has the Z axis. Compared to 2D Cartesian, basically the 2D Cartesian, a point that you use is the xy. But in 3D Cartesian, we have the x, y, and the z coordinate for the points. Alright, so now basically in games, space that we work on is either on orthographic or perspective. Okay, what is mean by the orthographic and perspective? Basically, it is the camera projection. How? Because the main camera will determine the game view. So, it is you to determine either one you want to use the camera projection as an orthographic or the perspective. Okay, what I mean by the camera projection. Let's go to Unity. Right, so you can create a new file of 3D games, 3D files, and then go to the main camera here in the sample scene. There are main camera. So click on the main camera. You can see it's point to the camera itself. Okay, so let's take a look at the scene view. Basically, this is the your view of the camera. See? This is what we call the perspective, or this area is known as the frustum. How to change this? You can change, like for example, let's say I'm going to change the far clipping plans into 1000. So it's bigger, isn't it? So less. How about 100? So this is 100. So you can increase the vertical view if you want. So it will determine. Can you see the changes? So it's you to determine the size of the game size or the view of your camera, how you want to make the camera. See here projection. So this one is the perspective projection. This is why it looks like a frustum. Another projection is the orthographic. So like here. As you can see, an orthographic projection is represented in a large cuboid. But if you make it shorter, so this is the size. Let's say I increase that into 10. So you have, in this way, for the orthographic, the size set in the main camera is denoted the space size in both directions, the positive and the negative direction. So, do you think you can determine what kind of camera projection that you want to use in your project? So in certain situation, you might want to use an orthographic projection, which is you want to make sure that your camera looks like this. Or you might want to do the perspective so that the view is more perspective, more larger. You can see in the camera preview. Right, this is the basic. So by having the camera preview, you can see that it's working on the first see where is your camera located. So you can determine the coordinate of the position you want to do for your plan and for your game object. For example, like this one, my camera is located on the X, Y, Z, which is the 0, 0, 0, and it faces toward the Y, X position. So the camera preview is the X and Y, and of course the Z in front of it. So by knowing your coordinate system, by understanding the coordinate system of your game space, you will determine either your game object going to be up and down along the y-axis or right and left along the x-axis or maybe forward and backward along the z-axis. So I hope you clear with the Cartesian coordinate, you clear with the coordinate that you use in your project. If you have any question, you may ask me for further information.